Uh, Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining the RTSA today as we take a deep dive into rail stations on South Auckland. So please, Leah. So a little bit about the RTSA. Well, you might have seen an email from us. We are looking for some new committee members next year. So if you're very interested, please put your application in. We'd love to have you on the committee. Get to be involved in organising awesome events like this and cool, and it's hoping to boost the rail industry in Australasia. Prices are on the screen there for membership. And like I've mentioned, we've got core for 2026 to organise. So after the roaring success of Auckland's core back in August this year, we're heading over to Adelaide. Get your papers thought about now, and call for abstracts will become very shortly.
Yeah, you want to know. I want.
Cool. So on to today. Drury rail stations, we're looking at Drury and Paerātā stations. So KiwiRail delivering a transformative expansion to Auckland's southern rail corridor through design and construction of these new stations. Presentation will explore how Auckland Group and KiwiRail work collaboratively to meet growing demands for sustainable and accessible transport in the region. Our presenters today are Ross Kaufusi from KiwiRail, also known as Mr. Drury, and works on the project from inception to delivery. Ross is a civil structural engineer in the engineering design civil team at KiwiRail. He's worked on delivering expensive projects such as Drury and Pizza P. Liam McIntyre from Aurecon will talk through the design. Liam is civil engineer at Aurecon, working on the Kaufusi station and Geelong fast rail for Drury. Finally, Alpesh Patel, civil engineer of Auckland, will talk through the construction phase. Alpesh brings his 12 years of experience in design and construction projects in New Zealand and the UK. Thanks for giving us your time today, gentlemen, and I'll let you take it away.
Cool. Thanks, Michael. Hopefully this works. All right, cool. Thanks for that intro, Michael. As Michael has mentioned, my name is Ross Kaufusi. I'm with KiwiRail. And just before I start, I just wanted to acknowledge Ngākōroa Station. So the Drury rail station is actually the delivery of 3 new stations. It's Drury, Ngākōroa and Paerātā. Although this presentation focuses mainly on Drury and Paerātā, as I was putting my slides together, I actually kind of struggled to try to crop out Ngākōroa Station. And I figured I'll get a few eagle-eyed callers in here, and they would probably just be asking, saying, hey, what's that third station over there? I see something over there. I figured, I'll just give up and just, throw in an extra station for you guys. So feeling kind of generous. But it will, I guess in all seriousness, it'll give you a greater appreciation of the whole project. So the project is the delivery of 3 stations, not just 2. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So to start off the presentation, what I wanted to do was to take you guys through this journey of this project, why we're doing it, how it's come about, what's driving it. And then after I'm done, I'll pass it over to Liam, who will take you through the design phase, and then to Alpesh, who will take you through the construction phase. What you see on screen, you see a couple of images. The one on the left is a snippet from Stats New Zealand. It shows you the predicted growth rate over the next decade. So the darker the color, means the greater the growth rate, the population growth rate. So you can kind of just see in there that Drury to Pukekohe, it's more than 2%. So this shows that South Auckland is one of the fastest growing regions in the country. It's got planned for thousands of new homes across Drury, Paerātā, and Pukekohe, and it makes it one of Auckland's largest growth areas. So to help illustrate this, what I've done is I've just taken a snippet of Drury. This is back in 2015, so about 10 years ago. It's not that long ago, but what you kind of see is that it's predominantly rural. It's got a lot of farmland. It's got the established township of Drury already there, so hopefully you can see my mouse. And then if we were to fast forward 5 years from now, so this is 2020, you can already start to see that there's a large change from rural farmland into the beginnings of the major residential developments here. Especially in the northern side and south of Karaka, you can start to see all the property boundaries being excavated, and the road's going to be installed, and then it even gets more developed now. So this is from 2025, and this is just emphasizing the rate that South Auckland is growing. So you see that before, where they were just getting all the roads ready for the new housing, it's housing being installed. You've got stuff that's down here as well being developed. Got more stuff over here, and then I believe this is our station over here. So these are not small incremental developments. They're entirely new communities being built, and so with this growth at the scale, it's vital to get new transport infrastructure ready from day one. Oh, yep. So with the expected growth rate, that's pretty much where Drury Stations comes into play. So this project is part of a 1.5 billion New Zealand government funded initiative to expand Auckland's Southern Rail Corridor. The primary purpose of the stations is to support population growth, but it also serves as a catalyst for sustainable transport. For those living in Auckland, this should be quite a common image of today's traffic. It's not that great. So it's a photo of State Highway 1 as you're heading towards the north. To be honest, I'm not too sure what day this was taken, but I've been caught out on Saturdays driving like midday where I'm sitting in traffic thinking, hey, wait a minute, this feels like, in the morning rush hour during the weekdays. So what I've done is I've got a few friends that live out in Takanini. So I've asked them, like, hey, how long does it take you guys to get into work? And they've said it's about 2 hours long. So being a good engineer, I figured I'll fact check them because 2 hours sounded ridiculous. And then so trusty old Google Maps was agreeing with them. So I was a bit surprised. And Takanini is further north from Drury. So you can imagine once Drury's developed, and then even further south around Paerātā to develop, the traffic's just going to be crazy. So the stations, they're designed to reduce car dependency, and it's aimed to enable like a real shift towards public transport. And the idea is to try to help ease the congestion and lower emissions as well from a sustainable point of view. They're also designed to anchor transit-oriented communities, integrate housing, jobs, and services around public transport, which is a key focus for here in KiwiRail. Alrighty. So what now? So as part of our preparation, because as we're doing this, we're trying to figure out how we're going to package this up and hand it over to someone who will take this through design and then eventually through construction. What we needed to do was to start defining our project requirements. So this is not a full list of our requirements. It's just a few random snippets I just took for this call. But one of our main drivers was to adopt a no-frills modular design approach. So this is something that should be pretty common across the industry now. The idea is to use common materials, common details, common components across all three stations. Liam will cover this in more detail, but the intent of the modular design was to not only save on both design and construction, but to also provide a safer design. So if you're building the same design over and over again, people become a bit more familiar with it, and it just helps with the ease of construction. Also, with South Auckland area set for decades of growth, what we needed to do was to consider the future flexibility and have a look at how rail and roading networks might expand in the next 10, 20, even 30 years from now. So we made it one of the requirements to not preclude any future upgrades or extensions. So each design decision was made with a long-term purpose. All right, so location, location, location. So with that all said, cool, we need some stations. Where are we going to put them? So since we're talking about South Auckland, there's only one line. There's only one line that gets down through South Auckland. So that's the NIMC line. That's the North Island main trunk line. And then so the idea was like, okay, we've got this line. We'll put some stations between Papakura and Pukekohe because there's no existing train stations there at the moment. So what you see now on the left, this is an image with all the proposed projects that we had at the time when we were putting all the scoping and all the requirements together. This image is to show all the proposed projects, or current projects that are happening and future projects that will be happening. And so we were looking at this and say, okay, we've got all these projects. Where's the best place to actually integrate these stations into this project? Hopefully you can kind of see those three arrows of Drury, Ngākōroa and Paerātā. It's a little bit fainted, but hopefully you guys can see it. So those are the locations, and what you can see is how it's actually integrated. So you got the red line. The red line shows the Papakura to Pukekohe electrification line. So that was undertaken by KiwiRail, which was completed earlier on this year. So previously, before that project, what you had to do if you're catching one of the electric trains, you had to stop at Papakura, change over to a diesel train, and then continue onwards down to Pukekohe. Nowadays, you can just go straight all the way through. You've got the State Highway 22 upgrade, which is this turquoise line over here. You've got the Pukekohe Expressway, which is this dotted line over here. And then you've got a bunch of links linking them too. And then where they've intersected is basically where we're trying to aim to position the station. So back to the location. So you've got Drury. Drury is just located south of Waihohu Road. It's between the existing rail line and the Hangaia Stream. And this is designed to serve the new Drury Metropolitan Centre, but it's also positioned to correctly connect to the future frequent transit network. You got Paerātā, which is over here. So that sits just north of Pukekohe. It's right next to Paerātā Rise development. And this provides a key access for both the Paerātā Rise development works that's happening, as well as surrounding rural towns like Waiuku, Glenbrook, and Clarks Beach. And lastly, but not least, you've got Ngākōroa Station. So Ngākōroa Station is situated in between the two. Ngākōroa is formerly known as Drury West, and it is strategically positioned west of State Highway 1, which is this bit, and near Jasmine Road, because Jasmine Road there's a future plan project for that one as well. So in saying that, the stations are strategically spaced to provide equitable access along the southern corridor, integrate with planned growth rates, enable sustainable connected transport network for South Auckland. All right, cool. All right, so now that we've covered that, we know that we need some stations, we kind of know where they're going to be positioned. Now that we're getting into a position where we can actually say, hey, we need to put together a scope that we can actually hand over to some designers to carry on. And so what do we want to do? We want some stations. How do we want to connect to these stations? Do we want an access road? Do you want people to walk up into it? Do we want buses to come and just, stop right outside? How are we going to treat the water? So all of this kind of stuff was just, going through our mind as we're putting through the scope for this. So just on real high level, I think Liam's got like a better render than I do. He's actually got the 3D artist, which looks a lot better than mine. But in mine, it's just a simple 2D plan. So we said, all right, cool. We're going to be right next to Great South Road. Kind of makes sense to have a connection through there. So we said, all right, let's have some bus stops and a signalized pedestrian crossing over there. We're going to have some new platforms. How big do we want the platforms? Well, we want them to be 6-car, but we know that in the future that AT are wanting to introduce these 9-car trains in there. So let's design for 6-car now, but future-proof for 9-car, so we don't have to do too much. We know that there's going to be a future 3rd and 4th main. So for those who are unaware, there's 2 existing mains at the moment, which is these 2 over here. And so KiwiRail are kind of working through something at the moment to put in an additional 3rd and 4th main. So we're like, okay, let's make sure that we can put in the 3rd and 4th main without actually, having to redo any of the good work that we've just done now. So and then, as I was saying before, what happens if people want to walk or cycle to the station? We've got an active mode corridor that comes down off Station Road, and then we want some car parks just in case people want to drive there and park up and then catch a train. And we want to be able to treat our water before it gets discharged to the Hingaya stream. All right, so similarly, over at Ngākōroa, so this is Ngākōroa Station. It has very similar requirements to Drury. So it's got the same, same kind of requirements for parking facilities, same kind of requirements for the platforms, same requirements for the 3rd and 4th main. But what's a little bit different from this is this one's actually on a greenfield site. So there's no services, and we actually need to connect to State Highway 22, which is a 80km/h road. So as you can kind of see, what we've done is, because we know that there's a State Highway 22 upgrade work that's happening at the moment, and rather than installing something now and then getting it ripped up later, we said, okay, we'll try to get our timing together, and we'll pass this piece of work, which is in the clouded area, over to you guys to design and implement. I'll go over the reasoning behind this a little bit later in my slides. Cool. And lastly, we've got Paerātā. So again, with the scope, it's very similar to the other 2 stations. So just on high level, we've got parking facilities. We've got the same platform requirements, same treatment of runoff requirements. We've got bus interchange, and we also need an access off State Highway 22. So this is what we've done over here. But what's a little bit different is that we weren't too sure what was happening with the State Highway 22 upgrade works further down towards this side. So what we've done is that we've actually designed this package of work and then handed over to Wakatai NZTA to implement. What we've also done is that, if you guys can kind of recall, on the other slide, we had the Pukekohe Expressway that was over here somewhere. So there's a link that joins us up to the station. So it comes in and then links up to this roundabout. And then so once that links in, there's potential for that link to be 4 lanes. At the moment, we've only got 2 lanes over there. So we're set as part of our scoping. They said, can you guys make sure this is future-proof so that it can be expanded from 2 lanes into 4 lanes? And then while you're doing that, can we ensure that the other project, which is the Papakura to Pukekohe electrification project, which is running along the rail line, can they space out their design so that nothing has to change, nothing changes for them? So that was part of the project scope for them. So just make sure that everything is actually done, with all that future things in mind. All right. And so that's just a quick snippet of what our baseline scope was for these stations. So, right. So from what we've kind of seen so far, the project is much more than just building inside the rail corridor. It's about delivering a integrated infrastructure that connects with multiple stakeholders. So the image that you see on screen right now currently just shows you how many parties are involved. And if you kind of remember that we are not just building KiwiRail assets, but we're building assets that would be eventually delivered or that would eventually be handed over to other owners. So these are only just some of our key interfacing partners at the moment. We've got Wakatahi NZTA, which is the green bit over here. You've got third parties also in the area. So you got some developers, you got Grafton Downs, Paerātā 5, Newlands, they're all within the area as well, and they all have an interest. You got Auckland Transport, who are responsible for the local roads, bus connections, active modes. You got Auckland Council, so ensuring our investment aligns with their growth plans and zoning. You got Ministry of Transport, supporting growth alliance, not growth. And you got yeah. So that's just a short list of it. We've got many more interfacing partners. So this is just to highlight the highly collaborative environment that we've got going here, and managing these interfaces has been crucial to this project. All right, so just going on that kind of thought. So having an understanding of what assets we're building and who will ultimately own and operate them has helped us structure design into packages that could be delivered independently. So what we've done is that we've divvied up our packages into 3 key packages, which is the state highway package, a station package, and a civil package. So as I mentioned earlier, what this has enabled us to do was to actually engage Wakatahi NZTA's delivery team to deliver the state highway package, which is the one that we've done for Paerātā. And the reason why we've done this is to ensure a smoother handover process to them, because they will become the eventual asset owner. And going on these 2 packages, so the reason behind separating the civil package from the station package was essentially driven by limited numbers of contractors with experience working in the rail corridor. So we didn't want to put that restriction on the market. So what we did is that, okay, there's quite a large portion of civil package that that doesn't really need to interface with the rail. Let's separate that out and open up that market to a broader market. And then conversely, for the station package, that's allowed more specialist structural contractors to do what they do best, and that's delivering complex station structures within a live rail environment. All right. So that brings me to the end of my section. And as I transition to design, I thought a good way of transitioning to Liam's bit was just to show a very quick snippet of our federated jury station Revitso model that we designed during the design phase. It's quickly flying through the models at the moment, so apologies about that. I just didn't want to take too much of Liam's time because I know he's got a lot to talk about. But to sum it all up, the Drury Rail Stations project is more than just building new stations. It's about planning and designing transport infrastructure that supports how Auckland will grow over the next 30 years. So I will now hand it over to Liam, who will take you through the design in more detail.
Cool, thanks, Ross. Hey everyone, my name's Liam McIntyre. I'm part of the rail design team on Drury Rail Stations from Aurecon. So I thought I'd start off with some renders to show you the context around what we're building here. So this is showing stage 1 for Drury Station. So you can see the main station building there in the center. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but in the centre there, below the Great South Road marker. Great South Road running up the side there, which is an existing road, the main road through Drury Centre. Along the top there, you can see Waihoihoe Road, which is an existing road and road over rail bridge, main access for vehicles into the station. Station access road, which we're also building, which will connect down to Flanagan Road at the bottom of that by the main roundabout by the station. And along with that, we've got a car park with 350 parking bays, bus interchange with bus layover bays. On the Great South Road side, we've also got some bus stops that we're putting in there. So patrons will be able to enter the station from the entry on that side and also from the car park and main bus interchange side. We also have stormwater treatment, which is at the bottom of the screen there. You can see the wetland in the visualization. And then for the station itself, we've got an entry canopy on both sides covering a gate line. We've got a public toilet by the bus interchange, and then a bridge to access between the two platforms with vertical transport, stairs, lifts, and entries ways on both ways. And we've got the platforms there. So also in addition, I'm also going to show you what our stage twos look like. So stage two is kind of what Ross spoke about before, is a combination of what we're doing as a project in the future, but also sort of seeing how that ties into future projects as well. So if I start at the top of the screen there, we've got Waihoihoe Road, which is an upgrade widening project that Auckland Transport is undertaking in the future. So a widened bridge there. This is an early concept of it, so it won't look like this necessarily, but sort of showing how our design can tie into that. Also showing how we could have an additional roundabout in the bottom right corner there, underneath the station access road marker. So that would be for accessing one of those developments that Ross was speaking of before. Car park increases from 350 to 500 parking bays. And then for the station itself, we're showing additional platforms to allow for the third and fourth main. So the side platform on the Great South Road side, that becomes a island platform. And then we've got another side platform going in on the Great South Road side. So those two will allow access to the third and fourth main as they come through. And we're also providing escalators on all three platforms in addition. And then we've also got additional space underneath the platform canopies, entryway canopies, just wider sort of entrances there. So I'm going to skip over Ngākōroa Station because we don't have the same level of detail at this stage, but the visualization for stage one at Paerātā, we've got the very similar sort of design to Drury Station, around 350 parking bays like for Drury Station. And the main difference here is we've got a road over rail bridge for accessing the station. So you can see that at the bottom left of the screen. And then also the entryway on the car park side, bus interchange side, is at the bridge level. Whereas at Drury Station, it was at the ground platform level. You can also see a road running up the top of the screen there. That's an access to a future Grafton Downs development, which Ross was speaking of before. So we're allowing for an entryway there as that development increases. And we've also got that entry on the other side, as I spoke of. And then going to stage two, we're showing the additional third and fourth main going through, increasing to 9 car platforms. On the side, on this stage two, you can see the third and fourth main running closer to the car park, whereas in Drury Station it was on the other side, running on the Great South Road side. So yeah, you can see the 9 car platforms, additional platform structures, platform canopies, escalators and lifts, same as Drury Central Station, larger entry canopies, just a bigger overall footprint really, bigger car parks. And you can also see a visualization of what we're going to see type of thing for the Grafton Downs development. You can see some conceptual sort of buildings there. So trying to indicate what we're going to see when we have that development and how that's going to tie into our stations. I also wanted to show you what entries to these stations is going to look like. So this one here is the entryway to Paerātā Station. Both stations are very sort of similar as at stage one. So you can see a entry canopy there, similar entry canopy to what we're using across the network. You will have seen some of these go in stations like Middlemore, using a similar sort of element there. Also at Parnell, got similar sort of ones there too. Then along with that, we have a security kiosk on the side for the gate line, ticket machines, and a bus shelter for the bus passengers. So as I say, very similar design at Drury Central. And at stage 2 for Paerātā, you can see a larger footprint canopy for the higher patronage, allows for a wider gate line, more ticket machines. You can see 2 additional buildings that we've got as concept on either side. So the right one there would be a retail type opportunity for a cafe or a kiosk or something like that. And then on the left is a customer service booth. So that will be where you'd buy your tickets or do that sort of thing. So just sort of showing what we'd do potentially in the future once the demand for the station increases to that level. And then wanted to show you what we're going to see on the platform level. So this is back at Drury Station. This is on the car park side. So the car park is off to the right of this image. So this is what we're building now at stage 1. You can see we've got platform shelters there, which is similar to the 18 major shelters that you see across the Auckland Transport Network for buses. You can see our bridge and everything in there. And then moving forward to stage 2, looking at widening out the platforms for the increased patronage. We've got escalators you can see on the new island platform, and then you can also see the 3rd and 4th main going in there on the left-hand side of the image. So that's an overall sort of general visualization of what we have for both stage 1 and stage 2. I just thought I'd take you through the different elements that comprises of. So you can see 1 in red is the entry canopy. So this is the stage 1 version of it. So it's a reasonably small footprint, but it serves the purpose for what we need it with the demand on these stations at this stage. 2 in yellow is the staff facilities. So that is things like a bus layover for the bus drivers to rest. We've got one of those at Drury Central, given the bus timetables through there. And it also houses the security for the station. We've also got our vertical transport and bridge. So that is the stairs and overbridge that I was speaking of before with lifts that you can see, the 2 lift towers. And then our platform shelters, the 2 in green, you can also see some further down the platform as well. So they are the 80 major elements that you see across the bus network. So along with the overall design, I thought I'd take you through some key design considerations and challenges we've had on the project. So the first one there is the modular design process, which Ross was speaking of before. Optimization of our concept design, how we've taken from the Supporting Growth Alliance concept design we received at the start of the project, and also a little bit on the ground improvements we had to undertake at Drury Station, given the ground conditions out there. So first going through the modular design, very important aspect of how we went about these designs was making sure that everything was modular across the 3 stations. These figures are provided by Grimshaw. So what we did was we separated each element of the station out into a discrete module that we could take forward through concept right through to construction. And then this allowed us to simplify our design by having one single set of drawings for each module that could be used across each station. So the vast majority of our drawings for disciplines like architecture, structures, bridges, most of those drawings are actually project-wide drawings. So this carries a large range of benefits, simplifies our design process. We only have to do these things once with very few tie-in drawings to make them applicable to each site. It optimizes it through the construction phase as well. If there are learnings from one station, they can be used on the other stations because the designs are exactly the same. It also allows us for a plug and play future expansion. Since we've already designed module 3 as an example of the side stairs, we can pull that across once we come to having the 3rd and 4th main coming in. And also it allows us to pull these modules across into future stations on the network. So if electrification was to go further south past Pukekohe, then we could do very similar things. The design's already sitting there. We just need very few design drawings just to sort of tie everything in there. And it also allows for optimization for the procurement, makes it easier for KiwiRail to procure across all 3 stations in different methods, depending on how they want to do that, if all the designs are the same. So we applied this process to all of the design disciplines that we have. So architecture, structures, and bridges is one of the main ones there. They, as I said before, most of our drawings were project-wide drawings that we used for all 3 stations. But we also used it as much as possible for all the other disciplines as well. So geotechnical, as you'll see further in my slides, I have some information on ground improvements. So now we have ground improvements modules that we can use for future stations if they're required. And then also similarly, any sort of structures around the station, like bus shelters, those type of things for the civil disciplines, and then doing all of our civil earthworks in similar sorts of ways. So moving on to how that actually looks when we go to the different stations. So again, these are provided by Grimshaw. We have each of the 3 stations sort of diagrammatically in these Lego models. Drury Central at the top, or Drury Station, Ngākōroa, the central station, and Paerātā, the one at the bottom. So this is early concepts, but it shows how the different modules are sort of rearranged depending on where the main access is for the site. So that pink module is the entry for the car park side, and so that changes depending on where the car park is. At Ngākōroa, it's on the other side of the station compared to the other 2. So just sort of shows how we can use the different Lego modules across each 3 station. And then moving that forward to future sort of design phases, how we went about that, you can sort of see how we've carried across these Lego modules in a little bit more detail. Each of the 3 stations, just indicating that they're all the same modules, just arranged in different areas of the stations, depending on how the best access is for them. So the next thing I want to talk a little bit about was a little bit on optimization of the Supporting Growth Alliance concept design. So we took the concept design and looked at it for 2 different main things, cost effectiveness and user experience, as the 2 main things that we wanted to optimize from the concept design to make sure it was all fit for purpose. The main one I want to talk to you a little bit about is the optimization of the Paerātā pedestrian bridge. So the render in the background there is showing what stage 1 is, the render I showed you previously. You can see it's different with Drury Station, where passengers from the car park and the bus interchange are accessing it from the bridge level rather than from the ground level like Drury Station. And this is to do with the existing site. So it's a much higher level on that side than the rail level. So it makes more sense to have people enter from that side. Now, the initial SGA concept design didn't have passengers walking across the bridge. They had them going down, as you can see, my blue path with the white arrows in it. So the initial design had vertical transport in the form of stairs or lifts or ramps going down and then going across at platform level down to the platform. And then if someone wanted to access the other platform, they would have to walk back up the stairs and then come back down the stairs on the other side. So from a user experience perspective, initially, this is not a very good outcome. And this situation would be present throughout, at least in the initial concepts, throughout the stages. So even when the 3rd and 4th main came in, passengers would still have to walk down and then walk back up a set of stairs to access the other platforms. So what we did was we looked at some concepts about how we could sort of fix this, and we found that there was a reasonably cost-effective way to do this. So we bought the station, the top image is the cross-section from the concept, so you can see the stairs coming down from the entryway and then going back up to access the other platforms. You can see in our final design, our concept brought the station entrance further closer to the bridge, and using fill or retaining walls, depending on how we wanted to do it. So we found that it was actually the same cost, if not cheaper, to build this additional span now, rather than having to build an additional set of stairs and all the other associated infrastructure for that. And it just massively increased the user experience for all users. So as I said before, enhanced customer experience at both stages. Similar overall cost when you take into account the construction of these additional stairs. Building the additional span of the bridge now was an additional cost, but not that significant at stage 1. And obviously, it optimizes the overall cost for stage 2 as well. We no longer have to come in and build an additional span when we come to put in the 3rd and 4th main. And obviously, this comes with a reduced overall footprint and a lower carbon footprint, less materials we need to use. We don't need to build these additional set of stairs for the project lifecycle, and yeah, just fewer elements to construct, as I said before, at stage 2. And then the final thing I wanted to go a little bit over was some information on the Drury Station ground improvements and the geotechnical conditions there. So following the geotechnical investigations, it was actually discovered that there was a previously unknown fault line running directly beneath where we wanted our vertical transport structures to go. And you can see that in the boundary between the grey and the green. That's where our inferred fault line is. And along with this, given the site conditions and the site levels, we had to do filling earthworks of 2 to 5 meters to get things to the right levels at the station. And we also had underlying peat layers running all through this area. So there was a significant sediment risk in this area, and a traditional pile design was not going to work well. I was going to have sediment issues outside of our allowable bounds. And along with this, we also had minimal bearing capacities in the superficial soil layers. And competent rock was more than 55 meters below the ground level in some areas. So because of this, we decided we would need ground improvements in this area. So you can see there on the left, the 3D model of what we ended up with. So we designed CFA columns at a typical length of 10.5 meters, 1.8 meter spacing, with a reinforced pile cap on top of each pile. And then along with that, we had a low transfer platform located on top of all of the CFA piles, 1.2 meter thick, gap 65 with 3 layers of geogrid. So this brought all of our settlement into required standards. And it also allowed us to actually design a module for ground improvements. So now when we do future stations, we already have a ground improvement module that we could use tied into the stations. And this is going to optimize the cost life cycle for all future stations across the network now that we've got this additional module as well. So that's me going over the design. I'll hand over to Alpesh now, who will take us through a little bit of the construction phase.
Cool, thanks, Liam. Hello everyone, my name is Alpesh Patel and I am the site representative on the Drury Central site, where I am responsible for carrying out site inspections for quality and compliance with the design. So following on from Ross and Liam's part, I'm going to focus on the construction phase and the delivery experience. I'll briefly touch on the delivery model, highlight some planning tools, and then dive into some of the key challenges and lessons learned on the Drury Rail Stations project. But first, I'd like to just to understand the current state of play. Here is drone footage of Drury Central, courtesy of Jason from KiwiRail Technology Lead. Here you can see the pedestrian bridge at Drury Central, and on the right-hand side, you can see the car park and the bus turnaround area just in front of Waihoho Road Bridge. And just turning around, you can see the wetland, which is the current retention pond, the station access road roundabout, and on the right-hand side, you can see the pedestrian bridge that crosses over to Great South Road. And here is a final shot of the car park area, which is in build. On the left, you can see the bus turnaround area, which you can see the exposed clay at the moment, which we're currently constructing. Perfect. And the next one is the Paerātā site, which I'll quickly talk through as well. Here is State Highway 22 roundabout, and then that connects into the local access road. And there you can see where the roundabout on either side has been future-proof for the future development works. And as we cross over, we're at the road over rail bridge that we're currently building. And then on the left-hand side, you can see the wetland for the Paerātā site as well. And the wetland part of it moves on to the car park. As you can see at the Paerātā site, the car park's a lot more developed, where the ashvale is almost complete. As you can see, the Paerātā site is a greenfield site, so lots of farmland with a stunning backdrop to work at. And finally, here is a shot around of the surrounding area and then to the pedestrian bridge. Just at the bottom there, and at the far end, you can see the road over rail bridge as well, that connects the two access roads. All right, so as you can see, we are well into the construction phase for both Drury and Paerātā sites. We are about 70% complete and tracking for practical completion in early 2026. As Ross mentioned earlier, there is a third station that is about to start construction shortly, with an expected final completion of all 3 stations in late 2026. The delivery approach for the project uses the traditional 3910 contract. The project team on site is made up of Aurecon and Grimshaw as a core design team, KiwiRail as our client, Stellar Projects as the engineer's representative, John Holland as the station architects, station contractors, HIB and JFC as the civil contractors, and the key stakeholders are NZTA, Auckland Transport, and Auckland Council. Before I move on to the key challenges and lessons learned on the project, I just want to touch on some of the delivery successes. One of them being the weekly coordination meetings and design workshops with the contractors, where we discuss RFIs and the construction challenges. These platforms also provide an opportunity to share knowledge across the stations. As they are built at the same time. As mentioned by Liam earlier, the modular design approach has benefited the construction staging, where issues are picked up at one station can therefore apply to the next, and vice versa. This helps to streamline the construction process. So we're truly seeing those benefits of a modular approach in the construction phase. Some planning tools that we're using are Innate and Tukana as our design sharing platform. Some digital tools we are using on the project to help construction is Vivisto, the Timescape, and reality capture models as well. Okay, so as with all complex projects, there are a magnitude of delivery challenges. The key ones on this project include working adjacent an operational rail network, inaccurate positions of underground utilities, variable ground conditions such as soft soils, organics, and a high water table, discrepancy between some of the design outputs, program constraints with staging activities during the block line, and time pressure due to link with City Rail Link. For my next few slides, I'm going to dive into some of the key challenges we've had so far, their resulting impact, and also reflect on lessons learned so far on the project. The intention is not to highlight flaws within the design or construction phase, but to help share key lessons that in hindsight would have helped the site team. Okay, so lesson one. One of the major issues we had in the project were unforeseen ground conditions. An example of this is during the earthworks phase for the car park area. We found groundwater and organic material over a large area of the site. To deal with this, the design support team had to quickly mobilize and develop a solution. With collaboration with the contractor, we settled on a drainage blanket solution made up of drainage aggregate at the base, capped with engineer fill, and overlapped with a Drury raft. The impact of this issue, though, resulted in lost time for the contractor with an already tight earthwork season. The lesson here is to invest in early ground investigations during the design to minimize the risk of unknowns during the construction phase. Though it can be acknowledged that geotechnical testing was carried out during the design phase, but due to access issues, it wasn't quite as intrusive as we would have liked, and therefore some of the unknowns weren't quite brought into construction. Lesson 2, construction staging at design. The original design intent for the precast stairs installation was to partly install the structural steel, followed by the first flight of stairs, and then rotate and swing in the remaining 2 stairs into place. However, due to site and boundary constraints at Drury Central, there were limited options for placing a crane and an elevator work platform to be positioned in a safe location. Unable to build as per the design intent, the contractors proposed changing 3 beams to a site weld, eliminate the need to tilt in the remaining precast stairs, and reduce the overall air time required for installation. The impact of this change, though, required a series of design workshops and approval to proceed. The lesson here is to consider site constraints at design stage and sequencing of construction to suit your environment. The third lesson is to hydrovac underground utilities sooner rather than later. The site team came across multiple locations of shallow utilities clashing with proposed pavement works and stormwater assets. Impact of this, though, resulted in an extension of time from the contractor due to their reliance on the network operators to either lower their assets, relocate, or request for a departure. The lesson here is to carry out hydrovac early as possible to confirm the design assumptions. Lesson 4 is to produce coherent design outputs. On the pedestrian bridge, the wrong paint and color was applied to the exposed steel. This mistake occurred due to the discrepancy between the technical specifications, the design notes, and the schedule as well. The contractor followed the schedule, which highlighted a double white pointer color. However, the design intent was nocturnal black. There was a request to produce a sample of a color prior to the full paint application. However, this request was missed during the construction process. The impact of this change on site resulted in a roll-on paint application, changing the intended texture of the finished surface. The lesson here is to ensure all design outputs are consistent to avoid any confusion, and also ensure samples are prepared for re-inspection before a full-scale operation. Oh, went too far. To summarize these lessons, to minimize unforeseen ground conditions, conduct more intrusive site investigations at design stage. For complex infrastructure, more thought is required at design stage. For construction sequencing to suit the environment, carry out potholing early to confirm design assumptions. Ensure all design outputs are consistent to eliminate confusion on site, and ensure samples are produced for inspection to capture any errors early. Okay, so to wrap up, my key takeaways on the Drury Rail Station project come down to 5 themes. 1, know your ground conditions and investigate early. 2, treat staging of works at design for efficient construction sequencing. 3, verify what's underground to minimize the risk of clashing with new infrastructure. 4, provide coherent design outputs to eliminate confusion and ambiguity in construction. 5, prepare samples prior to any full-scale operation. If there's one thing to take away from this presentation, is that the design, engineering, and construction world is complex, and you will come across challenges across the project lifecycle. You can't have a perfect design or a perfect construction phase, but what you can do is learn, adapt, and hopefully carry these lessons into the next project. All right, thank you for your time, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this journey through the Drury Rail Stations project. Thank you.
Thank you to all 3 of you. Hopefully I'm coming a bit clearer than I did earlier. We've got a suite of questions and only a few minutes left. So I might throw just a couple to you. Maybe Ross or Liam, you could answer this. It says 350 car parks for each station. How's that going to be managed with the growing rate in South Auckland? And there is a similar question along that line, but also asking about what are the bus connectivity for the stations.
Okay, I can have a go answering that. So a lot of work has been done in the past with both ourselves, Auckland Transport and Council, to actually understand the patronage numbers coming through. The stations are designed for stages, as kind of Liam was kind of talking about before. So it is in stage 1 and stage 2. So we've done some analysis just to demonstrate that the 350 car parks are sufficient for the first stage. The car park itself has the ability to be increased to 500 car parks if we need to bring that in forward. So that isn't a problem if the growth rate is actually increasing. That has the ability to be increased as well. In terms of the bus connectivity, Auckland Transport, there is a drawing somewhere where it is showing, I believe there's some new routes that it's taken that they're planning on doing around Drury and Paerātā. They'll be able to pick up like the new development area. So there is those new routes will connect into the stations.
Thank you, Ross. Time for one last one for We'll Duck Away for our 1 o'clocks. Good supervision for the 3rd and 4th Main. Is any likelihood of industrial sidings for Drury Southern Crossing or Drury Quarry?
Unfortunately, I am not too sure. So I'm probably not the right person to be answering that question, but I am, at the moment I'm not too sure about the if there is any likelihood of putting in a new siding.
Excellent. Right, we're at 1 o'clock. So yeah, apologies, couldn't get to all those questions. Thank you to everyone for joining us online. Hopefully you found that insightful. And again, thank you to the KiwiRail Grimshaw Aurecon team for providing these new stations for us, and Ross, Liam and Alpesh for your time this afternoon. Good stuff. There'll be a end of year RTSA event announcement coming shortly, having end of year gatherings in Christchurch, Wellington and Auckland. So look out for that communication. And yeah, see you all soon. Thank you very much.
Cool, thank you. Thanks Michael.
Everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.